Hello and welcome back. In the last session, we looked at how we can create a Swarm cluster using the Docker Swarm init command. We also looked at the core concepts of Docker Swarm, and then we also looked at a hands-on lab using two EC2 machines. So we looked at how we can create a Swarm cluster and then how we can add the worker machines to the cluster. And then we were also able to deploy our services onto these worker machines. So far, if you have been using Docker for a while, you've probably noticed that your system can get cluttered. Images you no longer need, stopped containers eating up disk space, and build cache that's grown out of control. Today, we are tackling three essential skills for a professional Docker workflow. We will learn how to clean up our system efficiently, use BuildKit for faster, more secure builds, and monitor our containers in real time. These might seem like small topics, but mastering them will make you more efficient developer. Now, before we dive into the details, if you found this session helpful, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow and allows me to keep making more videos just like this one. Let's get started with this. Let's start with cleanup. Docker is fantastic, but it can be a bit of a digital pack rat. Over time, you accumulate stopped containers, dangling images, unused networks, and build cache. The nuclear option is Docker system prune, but be careful, this command is very powerful. Let me show you what this does. So here I will go ahead and run this command docker system prune, and you see that it gives you a very clear warning. If you type yes, it will remove all of these items for us. So this will remove all your stopped containers, all your networks, your dangling images, and your unused build cache. Now this is great for a quick cleanup, but what if you want to be more surgical? Let me show you the targeted prune command. So let's say you only want to remove your stopped containers. Then I can say, so let me cancel this and I will say docker container prune, and this will only remove your stopped containers. Likewise, let's say you want to only remove your unused image, so I'll say docker images prune, and this will only remove your unused images. Likewise, if you want to let's say remove your volumes or your unused volumes, I can say docker, sorry, there's a typo, docker volume prune, and this will only remove your volumes, and then so on. So this is your targeted prune commands, and this is for everything. Now here's a pro tip. What about all that build cache? When you're doing lots of Docker builds, the cache can grow to several gigabytes. So if you want to clean up only the build cache, then I can say docker builder prune, and this will only remove your build cache. Now what if you want to remove everything including your build cache? Then I can say docker system prune -a volumes. So here this -a flag is important to understand. Regular your like let's say this particular command, the docker system prune, it only removes dangling images, but with this -a flag it removes all images not currently used by a running container. So here if I run this, so you can see your stopped containers, all the images with which are not being associated with the container as well, along with the other things. So this could include your base images you might need later. So the recommendation is use docker system prune regularly for maintenance, and only use this -a flag when you're really desperate for disk space. So that's about your cleanup. Now let's talk about building images faster. Meet Docker BuildKit, the next generation build system that's been available since Docker 18.09. If you're not using it, you're missing out on some serious performance benefits and security benefits. So what makes BuildKit so special? First, it's much faster. BuildKit has better parallelization and only rebuilds the layers that actually changed. It can skip unused stages and has more efficient cache handling. Second, it's more secure. It has a built-in secrets handling, so you can securely pass sensitive information during build without including them in your final image. Third is it has better output. The build progress is much cleaner and more informative. So how do we enable this magic? There are two ways. One is you can make use of your environment variable. So here I can say export, and then we use this variable docker build kit equal to 1, and then we will build our image. So docker build hyphen t your image, whatever you want to call, and then dot. So I think my docker file is here, and done. So here this is basically using the build kit for us. Now before you can run this, there's one more step that I missed mentioning, which is to install your build kit, which is your build X. For that, you can follow these instructions over here. So you'll need to basically add the key, add the repo, update the machine, and then install your BuildX plugin. Here I've included everything like your Docker, Compose and everything, but this is the only thing that we need. And this will help you to install your BuildX plugin so that we can use your Docker build kit. So you'll need to do this first. I'll share the link to this in the description so that you can refer this, install the tool, and then start using it. So one option is you can set it as an environment variable. The other option you have is you can set it in your Docker file. You can make it permanent by using this first line. So hash syntax is equals to docker slash docker file colon 1. So the latest installation of your Docker will have BuildKit enabled by default, and even if you don't want this, your Docker would still be using the BuildKit to build your images. So basically to make it more faster and more secure. The difference with BuildKit and the old way is that your BuildKit output shows you the progress bar, as to how much time is there, how much, what is the estimated time, and much cleaner status messages. Now let me show you one of the killer features: build secrets. Imagine you need to install a private package during build, but you don't want the credentials in your final image. So here, for example, so here I'm passing some secret. Now I don't want this secret to be there in my image. That's where we can make use of your build kit or build X, so that the secrets would be available during the build only, and it won't be stored within your image. So let's go ahead and build this. So here this will be the command: docker build kit equals to 1, docker build your secret environment variable, and then the name of the image. And you will see that the secret would be available during the build, but it will not be stored within your image. So like I said, the secret is available during build, but it will never get returned to the image layers, and this is a game changer for security. And like I said, your build kit is enabled by default in newer Docker versions, but now you should know how to leverage its full power. So the whole point of using this build kit is to speed up the process of your image building and follow a secure process. Finally, let's talk about monitoring. So when your containers are running, how do you know what they're actually doing? How much CPU are they using? How much memory it is using? Enter docker stats and docker events command. Let's start off with the docker stats command. This is like your top or h top for your Docker containers. So when you run this docker stats command, docker stats, sorry. So this will give you real-time monitoring. So what is your CPU utilization, your memory utilization, your network input output, your block input output, and also your process IDs. Now this will only show you the information for your running container. So let's say for example, we will go ahead and start a new container. So let's say docker run -dit -p, let's say 5000, and let's say image, and let me run this docker stats once again, and here you can see I'm able to see the information, right? So it will give the CPU utilization, your memory utilization, what's your network input output, your block input output, and then so on. So this way you can understand the resource utilization of your containers. And like I said, this is like your top or htop command. Now you can also monitor specific containers. Now in this case, if you have 100 containers, it will show you all the 100 containers. But if you want to monitor only specific containers, you can do that also. So we can simply say docker stats and then the name of your container or the container id, and it will show you the information only for that particular container. Or let's say you want a one-time snapshot instead of continuous output, then I can say docker stats hyphen no hyphen stream and done. So this is like your live resource utilization, and this will show you, and it will give your terminal back so that you can continue working. So that's about your resource monitoring using the docker stats command. But what about historical events? What if a container crashed overnight and you want to know what happened? That's where docker events comes in. So here we can run this docker events command. Now this will show you the events in real time. So what we will do is we'll open up a new terminal and let's create some events. So let's say docker run hyphen name test container alpine echo, and let's say hello. All right, and now let's say I will stop this container, and let me remove this container. Now if you go and look at your events, you should be able to see everything. So you can see image full, container create, container attach, network connect, container start, network disconnect, container die, container destroy. Amazing, right? You can see the entire life cycle of the container. So this is where we can make use of your docker events whenever you want to see the real-time events of your containers. But also, what if I want to look at the past events? Then, so let me cancel this, and we can say docker events hyphen since 1h, which is for the last 1 hour. So I'm basically telling like, hey, show me all the events that has happened in the last 1 hour, and this will give me the history. Likewise, if you want to see the events between specific time, we can do that also. Likewise, if you want to see the events for specific events, like you want to see only for the die containers when you're killing the container, so I can say docker events hyphen filter, and then we can say type is container, and then filter event would be die. Sorry, there should be a space. And now let's say I will start the container once again, and you will see that it only captured the die event. It did not capture the start, the network connect, or any of those things. It only captured the die status, and only for your container. So like let's say if I'm pulling an image, so let's say docker pull ubuntu, this will not capture that event because we have applied the filter. This can be incredibly useful for debugging. Did a container die unexpectedly? Docker events will show you when it happened and what was the exit code. You can monitor all kinds of events. You can monitor the container creation, start, stop, and destroy. You can monitor image pulls, image pushes, and image deletes. You can also monitor network creation and deletion along with your volume operations. Let me show you how these tools work together in a real scenario. Imagine you're debugging a memory leak. You notice high memory usage with docker stats command. You check docker events to see if any containers recently restarted. You identify the problematic container and fix the issue. You do a build with BuildKit for faster iteration. After testing, you run Docker system prune to clean up your test containers and images. These might seem like simple commands, but together they form a powerful monitoring and maintenance toolkit. And that's your deep dive into Docker system maintenance, modern builds, and container monitoring. To recap, use Docker system prune to keep your system clean. Enable docker underscore BuildKit equals to 1 for faster and more secure builds. Monitor with Docker stats for real-time metrics and Docker events for lifecycle tracking. And that brings us to the end of the session. If you found this session helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comment section if you have any queries. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next session.